what are some other tips that I mean, if you were to give tips to, businesses, because right now we are, going through a really rough time. I mean, companies are really trying to build this inclusion, like, because how do you do this when you have people dialing in from all around the world? Everyone is working from home now, and sometimes people feel disconnected. It's so easy to, be online, but then have the phone and the kids running around. You know what I mean? So, like, what are some tips? What tips would you give to people to kind of really enhance this spirit of, inclusion, and really build this inclusive workplace?
Mm-hmm. I think it happens at multiple levels, and you should be doing multiple things at the same time if this is something that is important for your company. I would say the first one is to do kind of a pulse check. Where is everyone at? Does anything foundationally or systematically actually need to change within the structure of the business, both with who's in place and who we're bringing in? Or, like, I think getting from a leadership perspective,
right,
that you need, experts such as yourself, or folks that are coming in, or facilitators, or folks that can help you get a pulse check on the existing business. Because I can tell you, with COVID, it wasn't just navigating the team dynamics for us. It was our business model. It was our, there's
everything. Yeah.
It's a lot of stress and a lot of tension. And I think sometimes you don't always have to fix everything. I think just acknowledging, hey, no one expected a global pandemic. So yeah, it's going to be a little stressful for the next few months.
Right.
Here's how we are going to mitigate against that. We're going to, like, right when COVID first hit, I was having check-ins with everyone on the team. I was making sure that I had like 1 hour with each person on the team each week to make sure that I just understood what was going on with them, whatever they're comfortable sharing. So I could understand if someone is just having a stressful day, it may or may not have to do with work. It could be other things that they're bringing in. And I think finding the balance of how you're able to do that is, as a company, that builds that trust. And then on the other end, checking in and getting folks, giving them time to connect and to play. I think one of the challenges right now with remote work is that when we were all in person in an office or, in a building, you have a lot of serendipity. You pass people on your way in.
Right.
You have more organic interactions. So it's not always we have an agenda, we have a timeline, we have to get through it. And if you don't make space for play and for serendipity and for taking the pressure off to build that culture and to build that trust, it's going to make it really difficult if you're going to then do something quite drastic. If you're going to say, look, as a company, we want to build more inclusion, we want to do these larger things, everyone on board with that requires trust and a certain level of vulnerability and transparency.
Absolutely.
So for us, I am not an expert in inclusion or like diversity and equity, but I am an expert in the toy and how things like play and making space for trust building and for really valuable discussions, how that fits into a much larger initiative to move your company forward. Because I think most people know now, like the stats, like there are folks who altruistically want this to happen, but there's also just really good business cases for not having homogenous teams and having one perspective on your team is just bad business. Like it's just not
bad for innovation.
Yeah, like they always say with design, like don't design in a vacuum. You need to go out into the world. You need to talk to people who don't have the same perspectives, and that's all empathic research.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is amazing, and I just think that it's so important. And what better way through play? Through play, you're really able to activate people. And I think not only that, you just break those barriers. One thing I've noticed that, so for example, I ran this same workshop in Norway. And the one thing I noticed was just the barrier just drops and people just feel more open because they're laughing. And then we can actually have those very, difficult questions or difficult conversations, if you will. And I'm just wondering right now if there are any questions, because we're almost running out of time. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Ilana is right here. Ask her the questions about the empathy toy, about play. And we really need play. Even if we're adults, we still need to play. And I think that, a lot of times people have, go to, team building, and they wait until things are really in a bad way before they engage in any kind of a team building activities. And I think that it's something that we need to incorporate throughout the year at some juncture, like
Mhm.
we shouldn't wait till the team is bleeding before we reach out to really connect and reconnect and really collaborate and create that environment that allows us to be human, right? Because when we are playing, we're at our most human self. Maybe I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean, like your most vulnerable, your most natural state.
Yeah, there's a study out of NASA that I talk about a lot about creative genius. And we may have shared it with you, but we're all born creative geniuses.
Mhm.
And it's kind of the year between the age 4 and 25, you lose like 98% of it. So this
Oof.
study came out of NASA that looked at, and the idea is that we stop valuing play and we value marks.
Mm.
Deconstructing this idea that play is not work and work is about getting that really good mark. And it's a very fixed way of thinking.
Mm.
And I think what's exciting right now is that to create abundance and to be optimistic, we need to spark more of our imagination and our creativity. And those are not all separate. They're not siloed. They're all connected.
Mhm.
And so if we don't make room for play, we're not making room for creativity. We're not making room for emotional safety.
Right.
And I think in any space, especially when it's serious and heavy, is the inclusion space. I think the building safety and trust, I think play has a really important role in us imagining just a better future. Because if we're only sticking to what we know, it's very easy to become overwhelmed, stressed, and we kind of stop imagining. Like there should be a lot of hope and optimism in this space,
Absolutely. And so before we round up, I really want to ask you, what are some new projects you're working on, and where can people find you? I mean, I have the website on there, but maybe there's some other projects you're working on, maybe, just talk a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so I've got so Ev, I can share afterwards. We have a video on how we've pivoted to online. It's a story actually that UPS told about us just a few months ago. But yeah, what we're working on right now is the failure toy. So I finished designing the failure toy in 2018, and we launched it for mass production on Kickstarter November